He smashed my $3,000 TV and said, it was an accident. So I took his truck. The sound wasn't a crash. It wasn't the shattering of a window or the clatter of a dropped plate. It was a sickening, electric crunch, followed by a high-pitched hum that sounded like a dying mosquito amplified through a stadium speaker system. I stood in the corner of my living room, a tray of half-eaten jalapeño poppers in my hand, staring at the wall where, 3 seconds ago, the San Francisco 49ers were lining up for a third-down conversion in glorious 4K resolution. Now, there was only a spiderweb. A massive, jagged starburst of dead pixels radiated from the center of the screen, bleeding neon green and violent purple lines down the sleek, matte black surface of my brand new, 85-inch Sony OLED. The image of the quarterback flickered once, distorted like a funhouse mirror, and then the screen went black. The room, which had been vibrating with the shouts of 20 people, went dead silent. The only sound was the heavy, wet thud of a glass beer mug hitting the carpet, rolling lazily on its side, and spilling a dark stout into the fibers of my rug. I didn't breathe. I couldn't. My eyes were locked on the black void of the screen. I felt a coldness start in my fingertips and race up my arms, settling deep in my chest. That wasn't just a TV. That was $3,200. That was 6 months of overtime shifts. That was the Super Bowl treat I had promised myself after a year of hell at work. I slowly turned my head to the center of the room. Brad was standing there. His arm was still extended in the follow-through motion of a pitcher throwing a fastball. He was red-faced, sweating, wearing a jersey that was a size too small, and his eyes were wide, but not with fear. With adrenaline. Fumble. Brad roared, oblivious to the fact that the screen was dead. Did you see that? He fumbled the ball. Are you kidding me? He looked around the room, expecting solidarity. He expected the other guys to be high-fiving him or groaning about the play. Instead, he found 19 pairs of eyes staring at him with a mixture of horror and disbelief. Brad, my best friend Mike whispered from the couch. Look at the TV. Brad blinked. He lowered his arm. He turned toward the wall. He looked at the black screen. He looked at the beer mug lying on the floor. Oh, Brad said. Then, he did the one thing that guaranteed he wasn't leaving my house with his dignity intact. He laughed. It was a nervous, dismissive chuckle. Whoops. My bad, guys. Hand slipped. I got a little heated. Ref needs glasses anyway. He turned back to the cooler, reaching for another beer. Hey, does anyone have a backup TV? Or can we stream it on a laptop? We're missing the replay. I felt the tray of jalapeño poppers slide from my hand. It hit the floor with a soft splat. I didn't care. I walked into the center of the room. The heat in my neck was unbearable, a physical pressure building behind my eyes. You broke it, I said. My voice was quiet, trembling. Brad cracked open a fresh beer. Pust. Relax, OP, he grinned, taking a swig. It's just a TV. Don't be a buzzkill. That play was garbage, though, right? Total rig job. It's an 85-inch OLED, I said, stepping into his personal space. I bought it on Tuesday. It cost $3,000. Brad rolled his eyes. He actually rolled his eyes. Okay, Rockefeller. Chill. That's what insurance is for, right? File a claim. Tell them. I don't know, tell them lightning hit it. Or a burglar. He tried to step around me. Now seriously, where's the backup screen? It's the third quarter. I put a hand on his chest. I didn't shove him, but I stopped him cold. There is no backup screen, I said. The party is over. And you are going to pay me for the TV. Right now. The room grew even quieter, if that was possible. The air was thick with testosterone and potential violence. Brad looked down at my hand on his chest. He swatted it away. "Get your hands off me," he sneered. The fun drunk persona vanished, replaced by the aggressive, entitled bully that had been lurking underneath all afternoon. "I'm not paying you $3,000. It was an accident. I'm drunk. You can't hold me responsible for what happens during the game. It's the Super Bowl, bro. Passion. Look it up. Passion doesn't throw a 2-pound glass mug at a piece of electronics," I hissed. "You threw it. You aimed. You destroyed my property. I missed the wall," Brad shouted, getting in my face. His breath smelled like stale hops and onions. "I was aiming for the wall. It's not my fault your TV is so big it takes up the whole room. Now move, or I'm gonna make you move." I stared at him. I looked at the veins bulging in his neck. I looked at the absolute lack of remorse in his eyes. He really thought he was going to walk away. He thought he was going to finish his beer, watch the rest of the game on someone's phone, and leave me with a pile of broken glass and a $3,000 hole in my bank account. I looked over his shoulder. On the kitchen island, sitting next to the bowl of chips, was a set of keys. They were attached to a heavy, leather fob with a Ford logo. I knew those keys. I had seen him pull up. He drove a brand new, lifted Ford F-150 Raptor. A truck that cost upwards of $80,000. He had been bragging about it for the first hour of the party. "Twin-turbo V6, he had said. "Beast mode." A cold, tactical clarity washed over me. The rage didn't leave, it just focused. It sharpened into a point. "Okay," I said, backing up. "Okay, Brad. You're right. Accidents happen." Brad smirked. "See? I knew you'd come around. Don't be a Karen. Let's just." I turned and walked to the kitchen. I picked up the keys. I gripped the keys in my fist. The metal bit into my palm. It felt grounding. It felt like justice. I shoved them deep into my front pocket. I walked back to the living room. Brad was trying to get the TV to turn on, mashing the power button on the remote. "It's dead, Brad," I said. "Piece of junk," he muttered. "Whatever. I'm going to Mike's place. They have a projector. Later, losers." He turned to leave. He walked to the kitchen island. He reached for his keys. He grasped at empty air. He patted the counter. He moved the chip bowl. He lifted the napkin holder. "Where are my keys?" he asked, his voice rising. "I have them," I said from the doorway. Brad spun around. "What?" "I have your keys," I patted my pocket. "And I'm keeping them." "Give me my keys," Brad said, walking toward me. "That's my truck." "You can't take my truck." "I'm not taking your truck," I said calmly. "I'm holding it as collateral. You owe me $3,000. You can transfer it to me on Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, or you can write me a check. As soon as the money clears, you get your keys. Until then, the Raptor stays in my driveway." Brad stared at me. His face went from red to purple. "You're stealing my car. That's Grand Theft Auto. I'll call the cops." "Call them," I challenged him. "Please. Call them right now. I'd love to explain to them why there is a shattered TV in my living room and a drunk man trying to drive home." Brad froze. He realized the trap. If he called the cops, he had to admit he was drunk. If he tried to drive, he was DUI. "I'm not drunk," he lied, swaying slightly. "I've had 2 beers. "You've had 6, Mike piped up from the couch. I counted. "And 3 shots. "Shut up, Mike." Brad screamed. He turned back to me. "Give me the keys or I'm going to drop you." If you touch me, I said, I press charges for assault and property damage. And I'll sue you for the truck. Right now, this is just a transaction. You pay for what you broke. Don't make it a criminal record. Brad lunged. It was clumsy. He was drunker than he thought. He swung a wild haymaker at my head. I stepped back. He missed by a foot. His momentum carried him forward, and he stumbled over the ottoman, crashing face first into the carpet. Whoa! Mike and two other guys jumped up. They grabbed Brad by the arms and hauled him back. Let me go. Brad thrashed. He stole my keys. Brad, stop. Mike yelled. You broke his TV. Just pay him. I don't have $3,000. Brad screamed, the truth finally spilling out. I'm broke. The truck payment is $1,200 a month. I have $40 in my account. The room went silent again. You drive an $80,000 truck, I said, and you don't have $3,000. It's a lease. Brad spat, struggling against Mike's grip. I live paycheck to paycheck. I can't pay you. So give me my keys so I can go home. No, I said. If you can't pay, then we have a problem. But you aren't driving out of here. I'm calling 911. Brad yelled. He managed to wiggle one arm free and pulled his phone out. I'm reporting a robbery. He dialed. He put it on speaker. 911, what is your emergency? This guy stole my truck keys. Brad shouted into the phone. He's holding me hostage. I'm at 422, Oak Street. Sir, are you in immediate danger? The dispatcher asked. Yes. He's threatening me. He stole my property. We're sending an officer. Brad hung up. He looked at me with a triumphant, sneering grin. You're done, bro. You're going to jail. You can't hold someone's property hostage. That's theft. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, guarding the door. 10 minutes later, the lights of a cruiser flashed through the front window. Two officers walked up the driveway. One was an older guy, Sergeant Miller. The other was a rookie. Brad ran out the front door to meet them. Officer. Arrest him. Brad pointed at me standing in the doorway. He stole my keys. He won't let me leave. Sergeant Miller walked up, looking tired. He looked at Brad, who was swaying and smelled like a brewery. Then he looked at me. What's going on here? Miller asked. I hosted a Super Bowl party, I said. This guest, Brad, got angry at the game and threw a heavy glass mug at my wall. He missed and shattered my 85-inch OLED TV. It's a $3,000 loss. So you stole his keys? Miller asked, raising an eyebrow. I did not steal them, I said. I secured them. He refused to pay for the damage. He tried to leave. He is visibly intoxicated. I told him he could have the keys back when he paid for the damage, or when he was sober enough to discuss a payment plan. I wasn't going to let him drive drunk, and I wasn't going to let him flee the scene of property damage. Miller looked at Brad. Sir, have you been drinking? I had a couple, Brad stammered. But I'm fine to drive. The issue is the theft. He has my keys in his pocket. Miller walked past Brad and looked into the living room. He saw the shattered TV. He saw the beer mug on the floor. He saw the puddle of stout. That's a nice TV, Miller noted. Or it was. He turned back to us. Here is the situation, Miller said, hitching up his belt. The damage to the TV? That is a civil matter. I can't make him pay you tonight. You have to sue him in small claims court. Brad grilled. See? I told you. Give me the keys. However, Miller continued, turning to Brad. The keys are also a civil matter right now. He hasn't stolen the truck. The truck is right there. He has possession of the keys as a result of a dispute. I'm not going to arrest a homeowner for keeping a drunk driver off the road. But I want to leave. Brad yelled. You can leave, Miller said. You have legs. You have Uber. But you aren't driving that truck. If you get behind that wheel, I will arrest you for DUI immediately. I can smell the alcohol from here. He has my property. Brad pointed at my pocket. And you destroyed his property, Miller shrugged. It's a wash for tonight. Here is what is going to happen. You, sir, he pointed to Brad, are going to call a ride. You are going to leave the truck here. Tomorrow, when you are sober, you can come back with the police for a civil standby to retrieve your vehicle. At that time, you can exchange information for the lawsuit he is definitely going to file against you. Brad's jaw dropped. You're letting him keep my truck. I'm letting him keep your keys to prevent a felony, Miller said. Do you want to go to jail tonight, or do you want to go home? Brad looked at the cop. He looked at me. He looked at his truck sitting in the driveway, a massive monument to his bad decisions. Fine, Brad spat. Fine. I'm calling an Uber. But tomorrow? I'm coming back with a lawyer. Bring a checkbook, I said. Brad stormed down the driveway to wait for his ride. The cop stayed until he got into the Uber. Miller turned to me. You got lucky, son. Technically, you should give him the keys. But I'm not gonna force it tonight. He's a menace. Just, give them back tomorrow. Don't make me come back here with a warrant. I will, I said. I just wanted to make sure he didn't disappear. Take photos, Miller advised. Sue him. He admitted to it on body cam. Thank you, officer. The party dispersed pretty quickly after that. The mood was dead. My friends helped me clean up the glass. I went to bed, but I didn't sleep. I kept listening for the sound of a spare key. I watched the driveway on my security camera. The Raptor sat there, silent and heavy. Monday morning. 9 a.m. I was sitting on the porch, drinking coffee. The keys were on the table next to me. A sedan pulled up. Brad got out. He looked hungover. He looked pale. He didn't have a lawyer. He didn't have a cop. He had his dad. An older man, dressed in a work uniform from a local HVAC company, got out of the driver's seat. He looked furious. They walked up the driveway. Are you the guy? The dad asked. I'm the guy with the broken TV, I said. The dad sighed. He looked at the Raptor. He shook his head. Idiot. I told him that truck was too much for him. He turned to me. He told me what happened. He told me he threw a glass at your wall. He did. Is 3,000 the number? The dad asked. 3,200, I said. Tax included. The dad pulled out a checkbook. He wrote a check. He handed it to me. Here, he said. I'm taking it out of his inheritance. And I'm taking the truck back. I co-signed for it. He can't afford the insurance anyway. I looked at the check. It was real. I picked up the keys. I handed them to the dad. Thank you, I said. Brad stood there, looking at his feet. He didn't say a word. He looked like a child who had been grounded for life. Get in the truck, Brad, his dad snapped. Brad climbed into the passenger seat of his own truck. The dad got in the driver's seat. He revved the engine and backed out. I watched them drive away. I went inside. I looked at the blank wall where the TV used to be. I drove to Best Buy an hour later. I bought the same TV. Actually, I upgraded. I got the newer model. I set it up that night. The picture was crisp. The colors were vibrant. I sent a picture of it to the group chat. Caption, new TV. Who dis? Mike replied, backup TV secured. No glass mugs allowed. Brad isn't in the group chat anymore. I heard he's riding the bus to work. Sometimes, when I'm watching football, I think about that night. I think about the split-second decision to grab the keys. It was risky. It was petty. But looking at my 4K screen, watching the game in perfect clarity, it was worth it. So, tell me. Am I the monster for holding a drunk man's truck hostage to ensure I got paid, or did I just intercept a bad play and run it back for a touchdown?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications so you may never miss another story like this.